Yo, what's up, guys? It's your boy Jack Oates to go. You either know or you don't. Low on battery. Okay. So I just wanted to talk about one of the coolest upcoming series in Shonen Jump right now, and that's Kaiju number 8. Hopefully, once the story starts picking up, this is going to be a regular thing on this channel. Because so far, I've done nothing but enjoy just the crap out of this series. Um, I just want to say the pacing is great. It's digestible. The female characters that they have introduced are freaking goated. There's no useless female character yet. The one I have up here, Mina, she is the power cap in this verse as of right now. Like what? Like you don't see this every day where a female in anime or manga are already just from jump goaded. And then you have the other one, I'm forgetting her name off the top of my head, but the other one, she's going to be part of Kafka's team. Um, she is super good. She came on the scene just like lifting cars like they were nothing. And like, she's dope. She's super dope. And her character is already developing so well. Um, so on top of having like a dope female cast and great pacing, the MC himself, Kafka, is so dope. I love the fact that they're not wasting time trying to make him like, cool and like he's got his life together. They have a good balance. And Kafka is closing in on his 30s. And I think this is why I like him a lot, because of course he's more relatable as a person, where the fallacy is that adults are supposed to have their lives together and all that stuff, which is somewhat true. Like, you should have a lot of things in order. But Kafka's still on this journey of finding his path to what he believes is success. And it's really funny. He's a goofy guy, but when he gets serious, it's a serious moment. And it's just interesting. He effortlessly weaves in and out of that seriousness and that goofiness. And that's really what life is. And I know a lot of people, actually not here on YouTube, a lot of you are actually over 18, but a lot of people on my Twitter are younger, and it's you haven't experienced a lot of life yet, whether you think you have or not. You just haven't experienced I'm not saying I've experienced everything, but I've lived a life already for sure, and I still have a lot to learn. But yeah. I do like this character and how they portray him. And I like that he's got, I hate to call him a sidekick because he's so much cooler than that, but Ichikawa, um, he's an interesting character himself. But I kind of want to stray away from just like my personal feelings and thoughts about this and go into like some analysis slash theory about what's happening. So we have Kafka, in the very beginning, almost loses his life trying to fend off a kaiju from killing Ichikawa. He ends up in the hospital with Ichikawa once the kaiju was neutralized by Mina. Um, Now, while in the hospital, just randomly, this small little, I don't know what you would call it. It's not a kaiju in terms of this series, but we'll say it's a kaiju for now. I'm going to give it a name later into this theory. So this little kaiju comes flying in, and it looks like a little worm with wings, and he's like, "Found you," and he hops into Kafka's mouth, and all of a sudden Kafka is in his kaiju form, and it's just like, okay, it just kind of hits you all at once. Like, why is this thing saying I found you? And then now Kafka has just got this dope kaiju form and all these powers. Um, Excuse me. Like what happened? What's the story behind it? And so you get into the story, and you get these, these run-ins with kaiju, and they were training actually, and one of the kaiju, one of the stronger ones, was like running amok, and he ends up, or the kaiju gets destroyed by one of the girl characters. Now, uh, another humanoid kaiju comes onto the scene and resurrects the same kaiju that got destroyed, but that kaiju became much stronger and surpassed the power of that character. I should probably look up her name because I forgot. But anyway, she gets outmaneuvered by this thing, or overpowered. And Kafka comes to the rescue in his humanoid kaiju form. And he straight up disintegrates it with one punch. Now, one thing that's interesting about Kafka, when you look at the fights, he is constantly adapting. You can see it with his body, and you can see it in the first few panels where he has this kaiju form for the first time in the hospital. Like his body's just going wild with all sorts of like adaptations and add-ons and stuff, depending on the situation. And it's just really interesting that this is how it's working out for him, because then we see this other humanoid kaiju, who has like these air bullet type things, and he's also able to use corpses of dead kaiju as defensive measure, to avoid direct hits and whatnot. And I can only assume that he also takes their power. We're not quite sure how it works. That's just what we've seen, but I would just assume that much. Since he was able to make that other kaiju stronger, I would assume he was pumping it with the kaiju that he absorbed. And he was also trying to, it looked like he was analyzing one of the kaiju on the scene that they're currently at right now, and he was disrupting like the radio waves so that there's no communications in the area that he was in. And so when we see that other kaiju, he meets up with Ichikawa and one of his other partners, one of his other comrades, and they're fighting him. Ichikawa is doing really well, adapting to the fighting of this kaiju. And the thing is, this kaiju was kind of messing around. He was messing around. And he was trying to preserve Ichikawa's life. He didn't really care about the other guy. He was fine with killing him. But he wanted to keep Ichikawa alive. And that's something that I'm not sure why he did. I would have to assume Ichikawa is going to be much more important later on. And I've also pointed this out on Twitter. I think Ichikawa might be in the runnings to be, or maybe was supposed to be, Kaiju number 8. Because Ichikawa seems to be so talented naturally, and he adapts so well to any situation that he's in. So I think it would make sense that the kaiju that met up with Kafka in that hospital and jumped into his mouth was supposed to go to Ichikawa, and it was a case of somehow mixed identity, or mistaken identity, excuse me. So, and that's kind of where my head is at, that he was projected to be one of them. How they're chosen, I'm not completely sure. I don't really have any thoughts on how they're chosen yet, because we haven't seen too much. However, I do want to compare kaiju to kaiju. We have Kafka's kaiju form, and then this other kaiju, the antagonist, that we can compare. And they already fought, and Kafka was more than a match. Like, it wasn't even close, honestly. Even with Kafka having to protect Ichikawa and the other comrade, he blew that kaiju out of the water. Like, there was no contest. blew him away with a scream and then a punch, and it was over. Uh, so he's obviously clear of this kaiju guy already, and it's obvious that he's had this power for a while now. It's not a new thing. So why is he outclassing another kaiju that's supposed to be his superior almost? Which is strange. So what I'm thinking is that he's not actually kaiju number 8. Um, I think he is another classification, and if you're reading the series, there's yoju, there's kaiju, there's dai kaiju. They also just say like Kafka's type of kaiju is a humanoid kaiju, um, but uh, God, what's his name? Hoshina actually does call him a dai kaiju in this most recent chapter. Um, so it seems to be almost free flowing, almost. But he's definitely a different breed. But I think he's not even just this humanoid type kaiju. Uh, I would say he's a what I would call a Seiju. Um, Now I use this name because if you've ever read Kiseiju, which is parasite, um, the translation is star people or star person or something like that. Uh, and I think this is almost the same premise, where this is a higher order of kaiju or monster, if you will, that Kafka encountered and fused with. And so this is why his functions seem to be on a higher level than the other kaiju, because if you look at the other kaiju, his body doesn't quite adapt to like Kafka's does. Um, when Kafka was delivering a punch, like he was gonna blow this thing away, this other kaiju. And what happens is you get a panel looking at his ankles, and his ankles sprout these like anchors that go into the ground to keep him rooted, so that he can put even more power into it without being blown away himself. Um, and just things like that. You don't see that in the other kaiju. He doesn't adapt at all. He just gets fucking yeeted, and that was it. Um, so that's what I'm thinking. I think this is like some sort of superior kaiju. Like it's a misclassification for Kafka for sure, and whether that be from the monster itself or whatever origins Kafka has, um, you know, who knows? I think whatever. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It's so weird. It's kind of hard to theorize with just what is it, like 6 chapters out? No, 6. It's like 17. Um, with very little information. Uh, but I do think it's interesting that Kafka is not able to draw from that the suit that they use to fight, and I feel like whatever the disconnect between Kafka and that suit is the reason that he turned out this way. Um, what that's gonna be, who knows? And that could easily just be like, oh, well, he's already got like a kaiju inside of him. Like, why would a kaiju suit power him up even more? Um, which could be a valid argument, but I mean, you do see that the other kaiju is absorbing other kaiju, and like I said, I think it's safe to assume that he's also taking their strength as well. So I would like to leave that in the air for now. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I have. That's kind of what I want to talk about. This series is so good. If you're not reading it, read it. It's like I said, it's digestible. It's a fun read. It's a great read. And if you stand Black Clover, Naoya Matsumoto is like Tabata's buddy. They work together. So if you stand Tabata, stand this guy for sure. But yeah, read Kaiju number 8. I'm hoping to put out way more content for this series. So it's just so goated already, you guys. But yeah, that's all I got. Leave any comments whatever. Find me on Twitter if you want to talk about it. Anyway, this has been Jack. Let's go. You either know or you don't.